Everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Eliana McGee, and today I'm going to be talking about maybe a controversial topic, and that is romantasy. Yes, book talks, darling, romantasy. If you don't know what romantasy is, it's basically this melded genre, okay, of romance and fantasy. Okay, this took the TikTok world, Bookstagram, BookTube world by storm. I'm guessing probably as far back as 2021, maybe up until now. Stories centralized around a romantic plot that's supposed to be driving the story, and kind of the subplot is the world building and the the antagonist and the hero trying to save the day, your typical hero story. Romantasy, how do I say this? It's kind of lost the plot. Okay, there are good books in this genre. Let me start off by clarifying that I do like some of the books in this genre. For example, on my shelf, we even have, I'm gonna have to get up to get this, ignore my Mickey Mouse pants. We have Divine Rivals. This is a good book, okay? This is a solid 5 out of 5 book for me. I understand that might not be the same for everyone. I really liked it. I like the setting, I like the characters, I like where we were going with this. The second book, not as much admittedly, but I really did like Divine Rivals. I'm getting to a point, trust me. Another book, The Cruel Prince. This is a TikTok darling, like creme de la creme. I've only ever seen good things about this book. I really liked it too. We had a lot of plot, we had a lot of intrigue, the romance was on point. Some would probably consider it more just a fantasy, but I've seen it cross the lines of romantasy as well. This human girl gets caught up in fairy affairs. She has to live in the high court of the fairy, okay? And the romance plot there is between her and kind of this fairy guy that she doesn't really like, that doesn't seem to like her. They get caught up in the affairs of the royal court and them together in a lot of different scenarios and end up falling in love that way. That is to say, we don't really think they were in love at the beginning, which they kind of were. But anyway, both of these books have something in common actually. They fall in line with the enemies to lovers trope. If you don't know anything about romantasy, trope is a key word. Everything has to do with trope. When I say trope, what I mean is it's not really a genre, but it is a plot device that you can find in a good bit of this romantasy genre of books. For example, you can find that there is a found family trope. That means typically the character will meet a group of people that become their family because they either lost theirs was dysfunctional, and they just found a group of people that they can get along with really well and support each other, a good new support system, okay? There is found family trope in here, okay? Good, great, awesome. All right, enemies to lovers. That is another trope, okay? Meaning that the character, they don't like each other. They get off on the wrong foot. They might be on the opposing sides of like a family war, kind of like if Romeo was evil and still fell in love with Juliet, that type of thing. That's enemies to lovers, and it's a trope. What has become very popular on BookTube, Book Talk, the book internet, is that an author will they'll write a book, and their selling point on you know, these facets of the internet is to sell it as an enemies to lovers book. Okay, they'll sell it as a found family book. They'll sell it as a best friends in love book. Now, the found family trope and the best friends isn't really all that relevant, I don't think, to what we're talking about today, because enemies to lovers seems to be the main trope in romantasy, and I think it has killed the romantasy genre. Okay, so how do I say this? Okay, there are good romantasies, as I established before, but where I think romantasy authors today have lost the plot, okay, we're getting characters. We are not getting strong plot. What we are getting is two people who you can argue whether it's lust, you can argue whether it's love, okay? They're finding each other, they're meeting each other. Maybe they're having good chemistry, maybe they're not. Of course, that is subjective. We're really focusing on getting them together, okay? They finally get together. It's awesome, it's great. It might be the first book, it might be the second book. The problem is we are getting these trilogy, these quartet, these sagas of books where the main selling point was the enemies to lovers getting together, and it was so central to the plot. And no, not even central to the plot, it was just so central, but we don't have a strong plot to get us through 4, 5, 6 more books. What we have is something that can only sustain us for so long, and then we run out of ideas. So we end up with a lot of books that seem to fall flat. You can find this problem in Divine Rivals. In book 2, Ruthless Vows, right here on my shelf, okay? Where the enemies to lovers, their chemistry is good, it's strong, subjective, I don't know, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't. They get together by the middle portion, end of the first book, okay? But the plot around the story, I don't want to spoil anything. Basically, these gods, they have awoken and they have convinced two opposing sides of this country to go to war against each other. Okay, that is the backdrop for Divine Rivals as an example. This book, marketed as enemies to lovers, okay? So of course you're really caring about the romance, the plot, very intriguing, kind of a World War I setting. What's wrong with Ruthless Vows is you find out Divine Rivals does not get you to care enough about the war to want to see how the war ends in the second book. This is a common problem with enemies to lovers, with trope-led. I'm just using enemies to lovers because it's a very common trope that a lot of people love, me, myself included. We're losing the plot. There is no plot, in fact. I can't find it. Where'd it go? I don't see anything, okay? Why are we so focused on the romance, but we don't have a world to sustain said romance? If you're trying to sell us a story, like a scoping, scaling story where we should care about them two getting together and going through the rest of the story together, okay? If you're trying to get us to care, you need to make sure the story has a strong foundation. I have read so many, not even just the fantasy genre, but there is like romance science fiction as well, mainly YA dystopian, okay? I'm talking books like in the genre of the Hunger Games, of the Fifth Wave, stuff like that, okay? Where we have these tropes where we focus on the characters getting together and not enough around the plot, the subplot. Because I'll find that a lot of science fictions or fantasies that focus on the plot and have the romance as a backdrop end up executing both very well throughout the whole of the story. Okay, for example, The Hunger Games or Red Rising. What do we have? We have this science fiction, this fantasy world, okay, where we have built up the government's dominance. We have built up the suffering of the people. We have built up their relationships with the people around them, okay, that can continue on, okay, through 4, 5, 6 books, and a romance that journeys along, like with Katniss and Peeta, or Darrow and Mike, that can carry us through, where there is growth, where there is change, where there is conflict. If all you're selling is enemies to lovers and they get together in the first half of the first book, or by the end of the second book and there's still 4 or 3 books left to go, and you didn't focus on, I don't know, the evil vampires court that's trying to kidnap you, you didn't focus on that enough, I don't care by the time I reach the 3rd book. Like, who are these people? You focus so much on the enemies to lovers getting together. By the time they got together, I was bored with what was happening in the rest of the book. And the authors, they're selling these books this way. Let me back up. Let me back up, because there's another problem that I have. I sound like I'm ranting. I don't want to sound mad. I don't want to sound mad. I think this is a problem, and might be a very big problem for these authors going forward. Let's go on to this second section, okay? Spoiling the plot. I feel very strongly about this. I feel very, very strongly about spoiling the plot by selling the book as enemies to lovers, as found family. Now we're kind of moving out of the romantasy part here. We're just talking about tropes in general. When you sell a book like Divine Rivals or Cruel Prince to me as enemies to lovers, and you don't have a solid plot to follow up, well, now I already know everything that happens in this book series. I don't need to read it. I can fairly assume the enemies become lovers. Wow. Okay, am I the only one that has an issue with this? Like, selling it this way? For example, what got me thinking about this in the first place was the little blurb they give us on the inside of Divine Rivals, okay? They're Iris and they are Roman, okay? Iris and Roman are competing at a gazette to become the top columnist, okay? And listen to how it describes Roman. Not from Iris's point of view, okay? This is just to the general public. Describes Roman Kit as her cold and handsome rival at the paper. What does this do? This gets us to immediately kind of be on Roman's side because he's portrayed to us as handsome and her enemy and her rival. Like, we're supposed to cheer for him right off the bat without you actually showing us. Like, okay, imagine it was put like this. Roman Kit is her rival columnist. She's going against Roman Kit. Instead of putting words like rival, putting words like enemy, putting words like handsome in there, as we journey through the story, as we read along, we're finding, oh my gosh, they don't like each other. Oh my gosh, there's a little bit of tension though, even though they don't like each other. Oh my gosh, what if they get together? Like, instead of spoiling it, immediately calling it an enemies to lovers where we can figure out what's gonna happen right away, what if we found out along the way? What if we were to guess and are surprised and ecstatic when that actually happens, instead of you already telling me it's gonna be enemies to lovers? Because when you tell me it's gonna be enemies to lovers, now you need another plot point strong enough to get me through, which is where kind of the World War I and the gods setting comes in. That needs to be strong enough to keep my interest piked, however you say that word, I don't even know. Keep my interest up throughout the story because I already know what happened with Iris and Roman. Am I the only one that has a problem with this? Like, okay, it's a found family book, so I can assume they're gonna find family. Like, what else is happening? And what else is happening is rarely ever strong enough. And this is where I have a problem with romantasy and kind of this way of selling books through tropes on the book internet. I feel like it's gonna get old soon. Am I wrong about that? Am I wrong? Please comment below if you think I'm wrong. If you have another opinion, if you have some more insight into this, please comment below, because I want to see what you guys think about this. I don't want to sound like I'm ranting or being a negative Nancy about, or like a Debbie Downer. Negative Nancy, Debbie Downer. Whoa, I just lost my train of thought. Okay. Comment below. Oh yes, there we go. Comment below if you that you want to share about this, what you think. If you think I'm wrong, I'm happy to hear your opinion. If you want to see something more from this channel, because I don't really know what I'm doing on here. I just really wanted to talk about that because I love books and I kind of have a little bit of an issue with the way that we are selling them to readers these days. And I didn't want to just pick on romantasy to be mean to romantasy. Obviously, I have romantasy on my shelf. I like romantasy. You know, I found the books that I like in that genre, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think it is probably the most popular genre on book internet. So I just wanted to share some thoughts about that. If you want to see me share some things that I liked about it, like a video mainly talking about the things that I like, please let me know below. Like, subscribe, share, let me know what else you want to see me do on this channel. I really need ideas. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, so I'll see you guys again hopefully soon. Bye.